Hello everyone, this is Vijay Raj Purohit. Today I will be discussing my final session on software testing. In my discussions today I will be covering testing policies, test-driven development, regression testing, release testing, requirements-based testing, performance testing, and user testing. Every organization has its own set of testing policies because exhaustive system testing is impossible. The reason being because we find so many number of inputs, so many number of functions, and so many number of options or so many number of client requirements which needs to be met. And while meeting those requirements, there will be so many paths which needs to be checked. And we should say yes, it has passed the test. The problem here is it will take huge amount of time. Many a times there can be possibilities that you may not be in a position to deliver your software to the customer within the given amount of time. Sometimes, though the system may crash, it may not affect the customer much rather than not delivering the system in time to the customer because the customer wants to be there in the market at the earliest. Keeping in view of that, every organization defines its own set of testing policies. So let us check. There are some testing policies which can be incorporated into testing process. The first one is all system functions that are accessed through menus should be tested. Means here whenever there is a menu, if you are using a menu, what actually happens is there will be so many set of options. Every option may be linked to one or the other function. Since every user uses one or the other option one or the other day, definitely every function which are used for the menu needs to be tested. Second one is combinations of functions that are accessed through the same menu must be tested. Sometimes what actually happens is rather than a single function there can be several set of functions which are part of the menu needs to be tested. As similar to the previous one, here also user is accessing the data. If he can't get the output what he is expecting, he will not be happy, he may reject your software. Keeping in view of that, you need to test it. Third one is where user input is provided, all functions must be tested with both correct and incorrect input. So what actually happens here is many times user enters his own data. While entering the data, user can commit a mistake or he enters the data correctly. In all the cases, we need to test the system whether it works properly or not. Now we'll move ahead with one of the interesting concepts in testing, that is test-driven development. So basically, test-driven development is an approach for the program development in which you interleave testing and code development. So whenever you plan for any particular functionality, first write the test case for that, then implement that functionality, then test it, then proceed ahead. So this is how this particular testing and coding are interleaved here. So every test before every code before you want to proceed ahead with the next code, it needs to pass that particular test. When it passes the test, you are allowed to develop the next set of functionalities. So here this is actually introduced as a part of agile methods. Especially in extreme programming, it is used extensively. Nowadays, in plant-driven development also, the test-driven development program is extensively. Test-driven development can be represented with the help of a block diagram. So as you can see, the first block, that is identify new functionality. So whenever we try to develop a program, so whatever the functions are there, you try to identify that. Then write the test case for that particular function. So suppose if you are implementing some searching part within your code, then write the test case for searching. Then run the test case. So running the test case is nothing but give the set of inputs which you think that yes, these are the set of inputs I should test. Maybe considering boundary values, as I discussed in my last session, consider the boundary values. Give some set of values within the particular equivalence class and test your program. Suppose if it works, then well and good. You just proceed ahead with pass. And then identify again new functionality and again write the test case, proceed. If it fails, then what you need to do is you need to implement the functionality and refactor. Refactoring means what? Basically rewriting the code. So again implement the function and rewrite the code and again go ahead with the testing. This is how test-driven process has certain set of process activities. So what actually happens here is, since I told already, test-driven development is for the whole system which you are going to test, wherein the main objective is first write the code, test it. If it is approved, then proceed ahead with the next code. So what actually happens here is, first you need to write here one particular functionality within the given system. Then once that functionality is defined and once that particular code is written, then what needs to be done is run with one particular test case. Write the test case, run it. Many times what actually happens is there can be dependencies for that particular functionalities to work. So that function may be calling some other function, or it may be taking some inputs from some other function which is not yet written. That's why sometimes it may give you errors. In such situations, what needs to be done is you identify which is that functionality which is either taking the data from it or supplying the data to it. Once that is identified, you write the code for that. Then you write the test case for that particular code. If that is approved, then automatically this also test case can also be run and you can identify is there any error in that. There are many benefits of test-driven development. So let us see them one by one. First one is code coverage. So what actually happens here is every code segment that you write has at least one associated test, so that all the code written has at least one test. Basically we are trying to identify whenever I write some code, I should have a test case for that. Then only I'll approve that code for the next phase. So here what actually happens is complete code coverage will happen here. Second one is regression testing, which I will be covering in my later discussion. This regression test suite is developed incrementally as a program is developed. Basically what actually happens here is the total regression test suite which is required is completely developed once if you go ahead with test-driven development. Third one is simplified debugging. So what actually happens here is whenever a test fails, what obviously we do is we try to identify where is the error. If you are taking one program and testing them and then writing the next code, definitely you know that where the program lies. It is easier to identify and debug the error when you are doing test-driven development. System documentation, last one. Here the tests themselves are a form of documentation. Whenever you write a test, you will be writing what is the input, what is the output, what is the functionality you are trying to check. Those all documentation will be automatically added to the system document. Next one is regression testing. This testing is done to check whenever we do some testing and proceed ahead with writing the next code. Again we do some testing. But what about the previous test which you carried out on the previous code? Maybe you are wondering, already that particular part is tested. Why to worry now about that particular code? But what actually happens is, if there are some functionalities which are interacting with one another, if they are passing the data, if they are sharing some particular memory space, in such situations, there are possibilities that one particular code may affect already previously written code. Though it is tested in the previous run, but now after writing the new code, this may be get affected because of the new code. In such situations, regression testing is of much use. Here what actually happens is, whenever a particular code is written, all the previous test cases are rerun. Maybe now you will feel that there will be so many tests we are writing, so many codes we are writing. Every test again doing, it will be too much of time consumption. In such situations, here automated testing is used. Automated testing will help to run all the tests which you have defined for rerunning operation. So this definitely saves the time. So every test must run successfully before change is committed. Whenever a new change is added to the system, so before proceeding ahead, please check all the previous tests which you have run. If they are approved, then only proceed with the next. Next one is release testing. So release testing is basically a process where particular release of a system is tested against the given requirements, and if it is working as per the requirements given by the outside world, then we say that it has crossed or it has passed the release testing. So basically what actually happens is there can be several releases for a system. So there can be several modules. Every model, whenever it is released to the end user, before delivering it to the end user, there will be some test which will be done. Sometimes it is outside the development team. the development team which is involved in developing that code will not be part of this particular test. So what actually happens is, by testing this, you are trying to convince the supplier of the system that it is good enough to use. And so what actually happens here is, the particular release testing checks all the specified functionality which is given. Is it working? Performance as per the requirement of the customer, as well as any dependability issues are there that are being addressed. So in what circumstances it is using performing normally, in what circumstances it may come across some errors or some failures, that needs to be given. And remember that there is one terminology that is called black box testing. Here, release testing is also known as black box testing. Why? Because release testing will not show you any code or to the customer. So the code is not visible, paths are not visible, only inputs are to be given and outputs are to be checked. Only, and within that, what type of code is written, what algorithm is used, so no details relating to that will be showed to the customer. Then you may be wondering, what is the difference between release testing and system testing? Because both look similar. Release testing also takes the complete software and tests it. System testing also does the same thing. But there are some basic differences. One thing you need to remember, release testing is a form of system testing. So let us see what are the differences. So actually, a separate team is hired for checking if there are any errors in the system during release testing. In release testing, no person who has developed the code or designed the system will be part of the testing process. Second one is systems testing. What actually happens here is basically focuses on the bugs in the system. Say, system testing tries to identify about the response time, how actually a particular functionality is functioning, is there any crash happens with respect to some divide by zero errors. Such things will be checked with respect to system testing. But with case of release testing, here we are going to check whether all the requirements of the users are properly being met or not. So we can call release testing as a validation testing. Next one, will proceed ahead with requirements based testing. Basically remember that requirements based testing is part of the release testing. The reason being, requirement testing, what actually does is it checks all the requirements and sees that whether all the requirements which are given by the customer are satisfied or not. The main motto of release testing is also the same. All the functionalities given by the user are being met or not. That needs to be checked. So here what actually happens here is, so here each and every requirement given by the user you need to check, and you need to develop the test cases to check those particular requirements whether they are being met or not. So let us take one example. In our first chapter we had a discussion on medical healthcare patient monitoring system. So within that there were some requirements were given. We saw how actually a design can be done, how actually code can be written. Those all things we had seen. So again we'll revisit the requirements in that particular chapter, in that particular case study, and we'll try to write the test cases for those requirements. So we'll consider two requirements basically. So the first one is, if a patient is known to be allergic to any particular medication. So for example, some patients will have some allergy related symptoms whenever they are prescribed or they are given with those particular medicines. Then prescription of that medication shall result in warning message being issued to the system user. Suppose what actually happens is, if a doctor tries to prescribe some medication, suppose if the patient has already given one or two medications, saying that one or two particular drugs which can cause him some problem. So for example, some people face issues with penicillin. So if penicillin drug is given, they will face the allergic related situations. Some people face issues with respect to some particular components. So in such situations, so you whenever you are collecting the requirements, you might have mentioned these are the two particular drugs which should not be prescribed to any particular patient. So what actually happens here is, whenever if a patient is known to be allergic to any particular medication, then whenever a doctor types some prescription, if that prescription involves that particular drug or that particular chemical within that drug, so what actually happens here is, it should generate a error message saying that this drug should not be issued. a warning message should come saying that he is allergic to that particular medication. This is the first one. Second one is, if a prescriber chooses to ignore an allergy warning, sometimes there are situations. So what actually happens is, a patient is facing some particular problem. Say for example, now because of this corona related issues or COVID, so we are seeing that there are some doctors who are prescribing a malarial drug, but malarial drug may have some particular components which are dangerous to patient in one or the other way. He may face some allergic related issues. But at the end of the day, saving life is more important than handling the particular allergic related issues. In such situations, doctor can ignore the allergic related issues and he can still prescribe the patient the malarial drug. So what actually happens here is, if a prescriber chooses to ignore an allergy warning, he shall provide reason why this has been ignored. So for example, I'll write that yes, because we do not have any particular medication for coronavirus, so we need to give some tablet. There is no other way for us to save his life other than giving this drug. Though he may face allergic situations, he can come out of allergic situations very easily as compared with saving his life. Now, let us proceed ahead with the previous two requirements. For that, what tests can be written? First one, set up a patient record with no known allergies. So what actually you need to do is, you write a patient record. Say there is a patient who do not have any allergy. For that you need to write a test case, wherein you prescribe any drug, it should be acceptable. So prescribe medication for allergies that are known to exist, meaning that there are certain medications, there are certain drugs, they actually cause some particular symptoms or allergies will be caused. So identify all those drugs which can cause allergies to patients. Maybe they are part of your database also, because you are writing certain test cases where you are prescribing these particular drugs as allergic. So identify that. Then what you need to do is, you set up a patient record, then you give that patient record, and he is not having any allergy. So at that time, you check that a warning message is not issued by the system. System should simply accept it. So what actually happens here is, here this is how without any allergy one patient record is given. It is not generating any warning message. This is the first test case. Second one, set up a patient record with known allergy. So a patient is there, he is having some allergy. Okay, prescribe the medication to that particular patient who for that he is allergic to, and check that warning message is issued by the system. It is very simple one. I have listed, for this drug patient is having allergy. Penicillin drug patient is having allergy. While prescribing the medication, what I do is, I will specify penicillin only. So when penicillin is given, prescribed, it should generate a warning message saying that it should not be given to this particular patient. Third one, set up a patient record in which allergies are allergic to two or more drugs which are recorded. Prescribe both of these drugs separately and check that the correct warning for each drug is issued. Maybe what you need to do is, so you just record 2-3 drugs. For every drug, say first drug is consisting of some particular allergic related drug within that, and second drug you specify within that there is one more drug which is also related to his allergy. Then test the system. The system should display two warning messages. First should say that yes, this is the first medication you have prescribed, there is a possibility that he will get an allergy. Second medication, second particular drug you have specified, there is also one particular drug which will cause allergy to patient. That should be clearly specified. Third one, prescribe two drugs that a patient is allergic to. Check that the two warnings are correctly issued. So what actually happens here is, you specify again the two drugs which are having allergic related issues. So check that whether warnings are correctly, the two warnings are correctly displayed or not. Last one, prescribe a drug that issues a warning and overrule that particular warning. So what actually happens is, I will prescribe a drug now, malarial drug I will prescribe. But the patient is having some issue with respect to corona, assume that. So what actually happens here is, he is having high fever. So I know that he is having a severe fever as well as the symptoms are related to corona. So I need to treat him. There is no other drug available for me other than malarial drug. So what I need to do is, I need to prescribe that drug. When I prescribe that drug, immediately warning message will come. It will say you should not issue. You need to overrule. You write a code wherein it should overrule that particular warning. And whether the system will provide give option for you to enter for what reason you are prescribing this drug, though you know that patient is having issues with respect to this particular drug, that warning should accept your statement, and it should allow you to prescribe that particular. Now we'll see some features which can be tested based on the given scenario. So what actually happens here is, we need to check, is there any particular scenario given. For that, what test cases can be written for those particular scenarios. Let me summarize this particular scenario. This is for MHC PMS again. So here Kate is a nurse who actually visits patients for any mental related health issues. What she does is, whenever she makes a visit to the patient home, she checks what is the current treatment going on, whether the patient is happy with the drugs whatever is specified, is he facing any trouble relating to allergy or anything. Then what she does is, basically whenever she makes a visit, she opens the record of the patient. Sometimes she has to download that particular record onto her system. It needs to be authenticated, and then it needs to be downloaded onto her system. Once it is downloaded, it will be in some particular format. Then what has to be done here is, so once that particular record is downloaded, it will be in encrypted form. So suppose if the patient tells some issues, then again she has to decrypt that and enters whatever information the patient has given, if he is making any specific request, or is he asking for some doctor's appointment. If such issues are there, she has to make those entries. And when she goes back, she has to again open that record and she has to give the appointment for that patient to a specific doctor, and then she has to again delete that particular record. So this is how she has to maintain all the usage related issues with respect to MHC PMS. So the following set of features are to be tested based on the scenario which I summarized in my previous slide. So first, what actually happens is, before making any visit to any set of patients, what the nurse does is, every day morning she opens up the tab or laptop, and then she will log into the system. First thing what she does is, she has to log in. For that, authentication needs to be done. So that is the first testing scenario that needs to be satisfied. Second one, what actually happens here is, see, she has to upload or download set of specific patient records. She cannot take all the patient records on her laptop. So only who are the patients she is going to make visit today, those patients' records should be downloaded onto her system. No other record should be downloaded to her system. That one needs to check. This is the second case. Third one, home visit scheduling. So she has downloaded 10 patients records. All the 10 patients exact home addresses are matching whenever home visit scheduling is given. And scheduling should be such that there should not be any overlap. It should be optimized path that should be given to the nurse. Third one is encryption, decryption of patient records on a mobile device. So just check whether the record which is downloaded is in the encrypted format. Until and unless patient makes a request for some doctor's visit or change in tablet, then only it should be decrypted. Otherwise it should not be, it should be in the encrypted format only. Next one is record retrieval and modification. Only when patient makes a request, then only you can retrieve that record, make modification, and again load it back. That needs to be done. Next is links with the drugs database that maintains side effect information. There should be link between the database, because suppose if the patient tells I am facing some issues with respect to this drug, I am facing this allergy, the nurse should be in a position to check what is the particular drug specified to that particular patient, and what are the drugs which are associated with that particular patient, which may have some entity which is causing the patient to have some side effects. Last one is the system for call prompting. Many times patient makes a request that he wants to visit the doctor, or sometimes nurse herself feels that yes, he needs one visit. At that time it should be entered into patient record. So once the nurse goes back and closes her system, immediately she should get a message, or the concerned doctor should get the message saying that this particular patient needs attention and he needs a visit for this particular clinic. Next one is performance testing. Performance testing is a part of release testing which may involve testing the emergent properties of a system such as performance and reliability. So what actually happens is when you are writing the program or when you are writing the hard code, you will not see certain things which until and unless you execute and check. So for example, if you run a program, then only will come to know what is the response time of the system. Suppose if a particular system is overloaded, whether it crashes or still it works. So how much load it can take, that can be tested with the help of reliability. Reliability as well as performance, until and unless you test, you will not come to know that. So performance testing is a part of release testing. It needs to be done before you deliver the product to the customer. So test should reflect the profile of a use of the system. How actually the system, when it is put into use, how it is going to perform, that can be tested with the help of performance testing. So performance testing basically involves planning a series of tests where load is steadily increased until the system performance becomes unacceptable. So I'll give you some simple example. See, student result system in a college. Say college website, a student can come and type his USN and he can see his results. So on other days there will be less load, but on the day of results there will be heavy load. So what actually happens is, say if 10 students check the results simultaneously, it may work. 20 it may work. 100 it may work. 500 it may work. 1000 also sometimes it will work. But if you increase it to 10,000, what will happen? That needs to be checked. So you go on continuously increasing its this one load, and how actually it performs, that you need to check. Stress testing is a form of performance testing where the system deliberately overloaded to test its failure behavior. Sometimes you go on increasing its stress. So here you go on adding, say for example, I will be connecting 2-3 systems and check the performance of my software on this particular system. So if I make it 5, whether the system works. If I make it 10 systems, if I connect 10 systems, if I connect 20 systems, how actually it is performing, that I need to check. So this is actually called. Next one is user testing. Basically what actually happens here is, no doubt the developer tests, this testing team is going to test, some other team which are involved in software development of some other particular softwares may come and test your system. But at the end of the day, user is the one who is going to use the system throughout. So it is expected that user needs to test your system before it is delivered to the user. So what actually happens here is, user comes and he makes a visit and he will check for the system for his inputs whether it is working properly or not. He may check relating to reliability, performance, usability, robustness, everything he is going to check. Sometimes his set of requirements he brings in and checks whether it is working as per his. There are 3 types of user testing. So user definitely has to test it. The first one is alpha testing, where users of the software work with the development team to test the software at the developer's site. So what actually happens is, the developer may call the user on one fine day saying that yes, we have developed your software, please check is it working as per your needs, as per your requirement, is it working or not. It happens at the developer site. So and he will check, the user will come, he will check with respect to everything, he is going to check whether it is working properly or not. Second one is beta testing, where a release of the software is made available to the users to allow them to experiment and raise the problems that they discover with the system developers. Many times what actually happens is, beta testing happens by releasing the system directly into use. So maybe it is installed in the customer site, but only limited set of users will be given access to that particular software. Some mobile companies, whenever they release their new mobile mobile phones, or sometimes if there are some particular service providers, when they release their services, what they do is first they will give it to their employees. Let the employees install it, test it. If there are any problems, let them report. So here this is actually called as beta testing. Last one is acceptance testing. Acceptance testing is nothing but customer test the system to decide whether or not it is ready to be accepted from the system developers and deployed on the customer environment. So what actually happens here is, so it is now deployed, so you are going to check it for 15 days, 30 days, 1 month. So everything is working fine. At the end, after 1 month, you can say that yes, it is acceptable, not acceptable. So this is called as acceptance. The following block diagram explains the acceptance testing process. Basically, define acceptance criteria. under what circumstances you are going to accept it. So these criteria will form the input for plan acceptance testing, and then some derive acceptance tests, and then run the acceptance test, negotiate test results, and accept or reject the system. These are the particular set of steps which needs to be followed for acceptance testing process. Stages in the acceptance testing process are listed here. As I told you already, define, plan, derive, run, negotiate, and reject the acceptance tests. Agile methods and acceptance testing. Maybe you are wondering whether acceptance testing is a part of agile methods. Yes, definitely yes. Acceptance testing happens in all the stages of agile methods. So what actually happens here is, because customer or the user is part of the development team in all the time, so he is going to check whether whatever data is given, whatever information is provided, whatever requirements are given, that are being properly met or not. So what actually happens here is, so whenever customer is defining these particular test cases, it will be integrated with other tests whichever are given to the developers. So there is no separate acceptance testing as such. So they call it as, so all the testing whenever they are doing, they are automatically doing with acceptance testing. So main problem here is that, so if the user who is part of the system, he should know that how the complete system is functioning. Suppose if he is having partial knowledge about the complete system, then there can be possibilities that he may miss out certain particular. So this actually completes the complete software testing process. Thank you.